What's up, guys, and welcome to my first Underdog playoff best ball show of the season. Going to break down the best teams and the best players to target in playoff best ball, and I'm going to get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching my Underdog playoff best ball show. And actually, you can pretty much use the strategy for just about any playoff best ball that's going on. I know DraftKings has some, and of course, Draft has playoff best ball as well. But this show will be primarily focused on Underdog, and the Underdog format is probably my favorite format of playoff best ball. I've done very well on it in the past. I came into the final rounds of the main Gauntlet tournament a couple years in a row, and some of the smaller mitten tournaments and stuff like that I've done very well on. And it's just about strategy in this one. It's all about game theory. ADP is pretty much out the window. You're trying to stack as many players that you think are going to make it to the Super Bowl as possible. And it's really just a strategy of looking in advance and seeing matchups before they happen, and projecting matchups and trying to figure out teams' paths to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to break down what I think is going to happen. And before I do that, you're going to want an Underdog account before you start any of this. If you play DFS, if you've watched my game script shows where I go through the showdown slates, and we've done very well on those the past week, especially. I've nailed a couple of the game scripts on some of these showdown shows. It's a fun game to play, and I think that playoff best ball is even more fun than showdown. It's probably the most fun playing a DFS game that you can play right now, and you're going to want an Underdog account to do that. So make sure to do that right now. Just open up Underdog right now. Use the promo code SEEK, and you're going to get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And that is huge because you don't really see those types of deposit matches. And $1,000 will get you a whole bunch of teams into the tournament here. The main one is the Gauntlet. The main tournament on Underdog is the Gauntlet. It's a $25 entry. Right now, they have a mini Gauntlet for a $10 entry, and they have mittens tournaments, which are $5 entries as well. So very fun game to play. Use that promo code SEEK, SEEK, and that will get you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. So do that right now, and let's get into this. Let's get into this breakdown. All right, so as you can see, these are the games that I've been telling you about. We have the Gauntlet, the Mitten, the Little Mitten, as you can see here. See if they've added anything else. No, I just see the Gauntlet, Mitten, Little Mitten 2. They got the Mitten is filling up. Sometimes it's good to get into some of these early, like the Gauntlet. If you have any teams that you think are going to make it to the Super Bowl that are huge underdogs, like there are some teams that are still not in the playoffs officially yet, like the Bucks. Bucks are in second place in their division right now. I think that they're going to win the division, but Atlanta basically controls their own destiny right now. You got teams like the Rams, Minnesota, just all sorts of teams that have these high-powered offenses that are going later in these drafts because people like to fall back to the usual suspects as far as like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. Those are the more popular ones. The Eagles are popular, and the Lions right now are popular. So any one of those teams could get eliminated in these playoffs. No team has a lock right now. I think it's very open on the teams that could advance to the Super Bowl, and it's just like so up in the air right now. It's good to take advantage of that sort of uncertainty when people think that it is certainty. And so let's dig into something that I like to do before I even get started on drafting my teams. and that is to break down the teams that are going to make it to the playoffs first. And so, right now we're looking at the Pro Football Network's playoff predictor, and this we can go to. Uh, let's see. Let me refresh this. All right, so let's reset this because I know that I was doing this before week 16, so some of my week 16 picks are going to be off on this. So let's go here. And what we do is we basically project who's going to win each of these games in week 17. I think that I think Pittsburgh can beat Kansas City at home. Kansas City's been kind of fraudulent this year. They've been getting a lot of lucky wins. Marquise Brown is back. Hollywood Brown is back for the Chiefs. That's going to be a huge boost to them. But I do think that Pittsburgh playing at home, it's tough to write off Pittsburgh at home, even if it's against the Chiefs. I think Pittsburgh can take this game against the Chiefs. Baltimore versus Houston. Baltimore Houston just lost Tank Dell. They're playing at home in a dome against Baltimore. Baltimore just picked up, or Houston just picked up Deontay Johnson, who Baltimore dropped. I would not be surprised to see Deontay have a decent game in this one. I do think that Baltimore is probably the better team here. Let me take a look at what my matchup says. They're playing on Christmas, so we'll get this game out of the way early so we can fix it in our playoff predictor if we need to. But I do think that Baltimore can take this game, even though they're on the road. I think Baltimore. I'm going to go with Baltimore here. And you notice how my playoff seedings all adjust as I'm going through this. So let's take a look at Seattle versus Chicago. This is a game I think Seattle can win. Seattle is still in the playoff hunt, so it's significant for them. Chargers versus the Patriots. I like the Chargers to win this game. Denver versus Bengals. This is going to be a tough one for Denver. I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals. They've been playing at a high level with their offense recently, so I'm going to give this one to the Bengals. Arizona versus the Rams. I think the Rams can take that one. Buffalo versus the Jets. I think that's pretty easy. Buffalo, although it's a divisional game, so you never know with these divisional games. Tennessee versus Jacksonville. I think I'm going. Well, that one doesn't matter for playoffs, anyways. Neither does this one. Neither does this one. So let's go with the Colts here. Going to go with the Raiders. Dallas versus Philly. I think Philly wins at home. Carolina versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins at home. We got Miami versus Cleveland. Doesn't really matter. Let's give it to Miami just to see if it makes them get into the playoffs. We got Green Bay versus Minnesota. I'm going to give this one to the home team in the divisional matchup, going with Minnesota there. Atlanta versus Washington. Now, this is going to be significant because Atlanta needs to win this especially if Tampa Bay wins their game, and Tampa Bay is playing against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's been playing better, so they're no slouch, but I think Tampa can take that at home. For this Atlanta versus Washington game, I'm going to give the edge to Washington playing at home. We got Detroit versus San Francisco, and let's just say San Francisco pulls this one out. No, they just lost Trent Williams. I'm going to give this one to Detroit. All right, let's go to week 18. San Francisco, Arizona. Let's give this one. It doesn't really matter, but let's give it to San Francisco. Carolina, Atlanta. I'm going to give this one to Atlanta as well, but I do think that Carolina's been playing. They're ripe to spoil somebody between Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Cleveland versus Baltimore. Let's give that to Baltimore. Washington versus Dallas. I'm going to give that to Washington. Kansas City versus Denver. I'm going to give this one to Denver because Kansas City, I just like Denver's a tough opponent, and they're going to be playing at home. I'm going to give that one to Denver. I think Denver lost on the blocked field goal, I believe, in the last game that those two played in Kansas City. So they almost beat Kansas City in Kansas City. Minnesota versus Detroit. Give that one to the home team. Chicago, Green Bay. I'm going to give this one to Green Bay. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. Going to give that to the Colts. Seattle, Rams. Give that to the Rams. I'm going to say the Chargers can beat the Raiders. I'm going to say Buffalo can beat New England. Look at what that does. That puts Buffalo in the number 1 seed there. If the Chiefs win this one against the Broncos, the Chiefs are in the 1 seed. If they lose it, then Buffalo is in the 1 seed. And that's significant because people are drafting Buffalo early. I think people are assuming that Kansas City has won pretty much the conference and they're going to get the first round bye. But, Buffalo could easily pull it out. Like they have a lot easier schedule than the Chiefs do to close out the season. So don't be surprised if Buffalo ends up as that number 1 seed. And their players are all going pretty early because I think people are, thinking that, they're good values. But like if they get a first round bye, then you don't get any points from like the team that gets the first round bye in that first round of these playoffs. And that's huge because you got to do your entire strategy around drafting a team that you think is going to get a first round bye. You got to make sure that you're grabbing high upside guys at the end of the draft, and it's just hugely important. So Miami versus the Jets, I'm going to give it to Miami. Philadelphia, New York, let's give that to Philly. I'm going to give this one to Pittsburgh at home. Going to give this one. Let's see what would happen if Cincy won. Yeah, Cincy doesn't get in the playoffs if that happens. Pittsburgh, let's give it to Pittsburgh. Let's give this one to Tampa Bay. And I'm going to give this Houston, Tennessee one to Houston. So you can see what our seeds look like here. We got Denver versus the Chiefs. We got the Chargers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got the Ravens versus the Texans. Green Bay versus the Eagles, Washington versus the Rams. We got Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. Now this game is got shootout written all over it. So if you've got high upside, if you want high upside in those later rounds, Minnesota and Tampa Bay are good guys good teams to target. Looking at the Lions with a first round bye, Buffalo with a first round bye, given the simulation that I just did. Let's predict the playoff games now. All right, so Denver versus Kansas City. So now they're playing in Kansas City, so that changes things a little bit with this matchup. Kansas City has the better matchup in this one as well. Denver's defense, as good as it is, they've been giving up points to the wide receiver position, and Kansas City is suddenly stacked at wide receiver. The weakness against Kansas City's defense is the slot and the tight end position, and Denver doesn't really have anyone to take advantage of that. So I'm going to give this one to Kansas City. We got the Chargers versus the Steelers for the next game. I got the Chargers versus the Steelers. They're playing in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would have the advantage in this matchup with the Chargers giving up a lot more, or not a lot more, but they're giving up 24.8 to wideouts and 16.9 to the slot. So that is a better matchup for Pittsburgh. The quarterback position does not have a good matchup. Like running back position does not have a good matchup against Pittsburgh. Wideouts are the only ones with a good matchup against Pittsburgh. But Quentin Johnson, do you think Quentin Johnson's going to be the one carrying them to the playoffs? Ladd McConkey has a bad matchup against Pittsburgh. The tight end for the Chargers would have a good matchup. So if you think the Chargers, maybe Will Dissly or something like that, if you think the Chargers can do well. But I just think that Pittsburgh will likely be able to win this game. Although I do think that there is a strong argument for the coaching of the Chargers. Maybe the coaching of the Chargers finally get them out of that hole where they're able to actually win a playoff game. But let's go with Pittsburgh. We got Baltimore versus Houston for the next game. And this game would be a rematch of what we're seeing this week with Baltimore facing Houston. Now, we got this week's game, I believe, is in Houston. Let me just confirm that. Let's see. Yeah, we got this game is in Houston. This playoff game would be in Houston as well. And it kind of depends on if you think that Baltimore can beat Houston in Houston twice in a row, despite Baltimore, like typically choking in these playoffs. I would tend to lean towards Baltimore. I think they're the better team, but that would be a tough one because Houston could easily upset Baltimore in their home turf. So let's go with Baltimore. Let's say that they're able to actually get a win. We got Green Bay versus the Eagles. I think the Eagles take this one. Green Bay, they've looked good, but they haven't looked as good as last year. And the Eagles are just playing lights out with their defense right now. And I think that the Eagles could take that game. We got the Rams versus the Commanders. Now, this is an important one because the Rams are going super late in these drafts. I like the Rams to win this at home. We got the Bucks versus the Vikings. This is going to be a shootout game. Could go either way, but if you want to go for the long shot in these drafts, I would go with Tampa Bay because you can get Tampa Bay basically at the end of drafts. And if Tampa Bay can advance at least one round in these playoffs, then that's going to be huge. And they'd be playing at home against Minnesota. Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Do we think that he is going to the pumpkin is going to or the carriage is going to turn back into a pumpkin, or if Sam Darnold can actually pull out a win on the road for probably his first playoff game as a starter. So I'll give the edge to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks in that one. So, favor everyone except for the Ravens, basically. But these are favorites, or not favorites, but home teams in these, first round of the playoffs based on my projections for who's going to win out the season. So this, might not happen this way, but none of these teams, like as far as like the Bucks, I don't think the Rams have a playoff spot locked in yet. And, there's still uncertainty with some of I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think one of these teams, Baltimore could win the division. So that's still up in the air, I think. Divisional playoffs, we got the Bills versus the Ravens. According to my projections, if I had the Bills versus the Ravens, I'd go with the Bills in that one, but the Bills, both these teams are choke artists. So in the playoffs, so if these two teams are facing off each other, like I'll go with the Bills in this one. We got the Steelers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to lose eventually. I think that like but they're just such a good playoff team that it's hard to go against them. But Pittsburgh versus the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. We got the Bucks versus the Lions. We've seen the situation with the Lions defense. They're decimated. The Bucks, this is going to be another shootout game. So keep that in mind when you're drafting these teams. Like the Bucks are going super late, and they're in two shootouts according to these projections if things work out this way. I'm going to go with the Bucks to upset the Lions in this one. I think that the Lions with their defense banged up. We got the Bucks missing Chris Godwin. The Bucks defense has been playing a little bit better. They're still not great, but the Bucks' strong point is against slot receivers. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Although the Detroit Lions have tons of offensive weapons, but if you want to roll the dice And if you want to make it into the finals of the Gauntlet, you're going to have to take some risks. And I think like a risk that I want to take is maybe these Bucks beating the Lions. And the Rams versus the Eagles. I think the Rams could be another one of these upsets here. I think the Rams could beat the Eagles. This game would probably be a lower scoring game. The way that the Rams defense has been playing well against receivers, they've been more susceptible to running backs. So maybe not as easy of a matchup, but Philly's defense is good across the board. But Matthew Stafford, when he has all his weapons, they can play really well. I'll give it to the Eagles, the home team, but this could easily be the Rams. So like I want to make sure I'm drafting a bunch of Rams and a bunch of Bucks, and just hope that the Bucks like end up playing out where they make it into the playoffs, like I'm projecting. We got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Bills. Chiefs always beat the Bills. Like the Bills cannot figure out the playoffs. Maybe this is the year to do it, but do you really want to put your money on the Bills and Josh Allen when they choke in these big games and his team around him? They've been winning this year, but the team's just not the same caliber as some of these past teams that we've seen. So let's give this one to the Chiefs. And Eagles versus the Buccaneers. If it ends up in this scenario, I probably want to go just like all the way with the Bucks. I got a number 4 seed who right now is not even projected like to be in the playoffs. Well, they're projected with a 54% chance of being in the playoffs, but they're not even in the lead in their division right now. But let's go with the Bucks. So we got a Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield facing off against Patrick Mahomes in this one. Now, this is an off the board kind of pick here, and I'm doing that because I want to advance through these rounds of playoff best ball, and I want to have as stacked a team as I can with this potential matchup. And the odds are long on this one. A lot of people are going to try to put in, Kansas City versus Detroit, which is good. Like you definitely can put Kansas City in with Detroit, but just make sure that the second team that you're stacking with Kansas City, if you think Kansas City makes it all the way, is, maybe you're stacking the Lions with Kansas City and the Bucks, or maybe you're stacking like an NFC team. Maybe you think you want to stack the Bucks with the Bills and the Chiefs. It's whoever you have the most confidence in making it to the Super Bowl. You want to have a few different options in the other conference to go along with them. So it's all about strategy with this, and knowing the layout of the playoffs that you're projecting, and knowing the matchups that are going to arise from that. So now that we've gone through all that, reminder, hit the promo code SEEK when you sign up for an Underdog account. Your first deposit, you're going to get up to $1,000 match, and that's a 50% deposit match. You'd have to deposit $2,000 to get a $1,000 match. But if you deposited like $1,000, you get a $500 match. If you deposit $500, you get a $250 match. So it's good regardless of which way you want to go, but it's a fun game to play. There's a lot more to Underdog than just best ball, but we have best ball coming up very shortly after the season ends. It starts earlier and earlier each year. So Underdog, one of the more fun sites to play on. I'm going to go with a little gauntlet for this show. So let's enter a little gauntlet contest. I'm going to actually enter it on my phone because I don't like playing on my desktop. And then once I've gotten into this on my phone, I'll share my screen and we will draft a team, and I'll show you guys kind of like the thinking. I don't have my rankings set up the way I'd like to, but like I just started digging into my playoff scenarios the other day, so I haven't had a chance to update my rankings, but I'm going to get into a little gauntlet here, and I'm going to share my screen. And let's look at live best ball NFL. Rush here. All right, guys. So I'm trying to get my draft on here. Let's go to drafts active. There we go. All right. So I'm currently the 5th pick in this draft. So we got a few seconds to start here. Make sure to hit the like button on this video and hit the subscribe button. Give me 30 likes and I'll put out a short video with my favorite plays in playoff best ball. I want to get there as soon as possible, though. Like this show will expire after this week, pretty much. As far as the teams I'm picking, it depends on how things play out and how accurate I am with my my week 17 projections here. But make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm looking for 1,500 subscribers. I'm at 1,400. Thank you guys for helping me get there. I am currently the 5th pick in this draft, and looks like we got a lot of pros in this one. I see Eric Beimfor is in here. Not really sure about these other guys, but they all have badges. But these guys that I'm playing against, they're going to be targeting specific teams and trying to build around those teams. So you can strategize around that. Like when you're drafting, if you see one of your guys is coming up soon in the draft, but people around you would not benefit them to deviate from their own teams that they're trying to draft, I'm going to go with Barkley. Barkley's easy here. Barkley. I like Barkley. I got him as one of my top. I think I have him as my number one overall. Running backs have just played a major role this season, and getting a guy like Barkley, the top running back, probably apart from Jahmyr Gibbs, like Barkley and Gibbs are probably the top running backs. I'm going to go with a quarterback here. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. Reason why I'm going with a quarterback instead of like AJ Brown or something like that is it's very difficult once you hit this part to actually get a quarterback, because quarterbacks run out before it gets back to me. Quarterbacks that have a legit chance of making it into the playoffs are going to be gone by the time it's my next turn. You can see, let's see, get the draft board there. You can see the quarterbacks that are left are like Jordan Love, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has a chance of making it in through a decent amount of these playoffs. Jaden Daniels could be the upset guy in these playoffs. CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield. I talked about him earlier. I like Baker. Matthew Stafford. I like Matthew Stafford's chances. Even Russell Wilson. If Pittsburgh wins that first round, that'll be good. But I don't know how much upside he necessarily has. But you see, like, it thins out pretty quick with these quarterback options that you think can actually make it into the Super Bowl. So that's why I like to grab Patrick Mahomes, who has a very good likelihood of making it into the Super Bowl again. But I grabbed I grabbed Saquon Barkley in the first round. So right now I'm shaping up to look like a Philly Eagles Super Bowl, and I want to grab as many players from each of those teams as possible. I am projecting Buffalo to get the first round bye. So a lot of people are going to be ignoring Kansas City players because they're assuming that they are going to be a first round bye. For me, I think that Buffalo is going to be the first round bye. All right, so it's coming back up on me. Looks like Beimfor is auto drafting. He's taken, maybe not, but he just took Devontae. I would have liked to have gotten him. So I have the Eagles as my primary NFC team. If I wanted to, I could draft Jameson Williams, and give myself another NFC team to try to target along with the Eagles, since I don't have any really good Eagles guys left. But I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Jameson Williams. Prefer not to do that, but the guys that I want to draft along with Patrick Mahomes and the Eagles, if I'm going the Eagles way, would be like a team like the Rams or something like that, or the Bucks. But I need some upside here, and I don't see a lot of upside guys that are going to help me out. So I need to get a chief here. I want to get another chief here. It's not who I think is going to score the most points. It's guys I need to help me advance and have the most players possible in the Super Bowl. So that's why I took Kelsey there, even though he hasn't played very well. But Kelsey comes alive in the playoffs. We see it every year. They seem like they're resting him more to get him ready for the playoffs. They did the same thing last year. So maybe they're doing that again, or maybe he's just old and washed. That could be a possibility too. But I had to take another Chiefs guy. I need to get some Chiefs on my team because I want to. The Eagles players are all gone, and I want to get as many Chiefs to the Super Bowl as possible. Another good thing about this Underdog playoffs is you get paid out weekly. So every week you're advancing teams to another round. So every week you get a payout for those teams that advance, and you're not having to wait the entire playoffs for your payout. It's like DFS in a way. You're getting your payouts as the each week ends. So now I'm looking at Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins as my next options that I would pick. I'm going to go with Xavier Worthy. I think he's had a little bit more upside than DeAndre Hopkins recently. We also got Hollywood Brown in here too, who I like. But I'm going to wait maybe until the next round. Somebody just took Evans, which sucks because I was going to hopefully get the Bucks as another team to NFC team to stack with my Chiefs. But right now, I'm looking at a Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Jameson Williams, Travis Kelsey, Xavier Worthy, and DeAndre Hopkins. I need some upside with this team because the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' passing game is going to come alive a little bit now that they are healthy and actually have weapons with Marquise Brown coming back too. I think they're going to be much more effective in the passing game, and on top of that, their run game has not been that great. So I would not be surprised to see the Chiefs come alive here in the playoffs with their passing game. But I still want to make sure that I'm putting a good team on the other side with the AFC. That I need some upside. I need some upside with the NFC team that I draft next. So I'm looking at Washington, and maybe hoping for an upset with them. I need Hollywood Brown to fall to me. I want Hollywood Brown to fall to me, so I have another Chiefs guy. I have Jameson Williams already, so I can draft Montgomery too, and give myself a nice little. Yeah, somebody took my Hollywood Brown pick. All right, so I'm looking at Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go for a long shot pick since my Bucks already got taken. I've been drafting a lot of the Bucks, been drafting a lot of the Rams. All right, so I'm grabbing Terry McLaurin here. And as I laid out, I expect them to be playing the Rams in the first round. So I'm going to want to grab Jaden Daniels here too, because I think Daniels will have more upside than maybe Patrick Mahomes. and I want to make sure that I have some upside to help me get through these playoffs. And just in case things don't work out the way I think and the Chiefs actually get a first round bye, I'm going to have Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Saquon Barkley. Jameson Williams likely to get that first round bye. If the Chiefs get a first round bye too, my team is super thin. So I need to shore up my receivers. I got Cooper Kupp as an option. This is where I'm not too worried about the correlation. I'm more worried about, getting some upside with my receivers. And Cooper Kupp just went off the table. So let's look at some more of these guys. Noah Gray. Cortland Sutton is probably the highest upside receiver that I see remaining here that will actually make it into the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton as a safety pick. But let's grab actually David Montgomery first, just in case the Eagles don't make it to the Super Bowl and it ends up being Lions Chiefs. That way I have Montgomery and Jameson Williams along with all my Chiefs guys. I got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, and DeAndre Hopkins. I basically drafted myself into a hole here. It's hard to do when you're talking through and drafting at the same time, but the Chiefs need to not get that first round bye in order for me to have any sort of success with this lineup. And I'll get into that in a second here. All right, so let's look at my team. Hang on, let's let this draft play out. Got one more person drafting. These drafts go a lot quicker than normal best ball too. You're only drafting against 6 other people, I believe, and you're drafting for 10 rounds. So, all right. So if we look at, let's see, let's take a look at the team I just drafted. All right. So we're looking at Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels. Now, the objective of this team, you have to have each week counting towards your score. There's going to be one quarterback, one running back, I believe, 2 or 3 receivers, and let's get that straight. All right, so we got a quarterback, a running back, 2 receivers, tight ends, and a flex. So that's what's going to count towards your score. So a lot of people like to load up on wide receiver, tight end, because traditionally, like running backs have not had the upside that they've had this year when teams are leaning more on running backs. I would tend to draft, like typically people will try to draft 1 running back or 2 running backs. And they're basically drafting like you're right. You're drafting a running back that you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl, a high upside running back, and you want to not draft any other running backs. Like with Saquon Barkley, traditionally, I would have just kept Saquon Barkley and not drafted another running back. This year, with the way that running backs have a higher value, I don't mind drafting like 2 or 3 running backs and hoping that, I get the high upside running back on any given week during these playoffs. But you want a quarterback, you want a running back, you want 2 wide receiver tight ends, and you want a flex position. That's going to fill your weekly roster. And right now that I've shared that with you, I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Daniels. So I got one quarterback no matter what, like with Washington. If Mahomes makes it to the bye, then Jaden Daniels will count as my quarterback points. I got Saquon Barkley and David Montgomery. Assuming that Saquon that David Montgomery, the Lions are going to get that first round bye. Montgomery has that injury, so he's going super late, but looks like he's going to be making it back for the playoffs. At least that's what they're saying. So David Montgomery, he's going to be a sneaky Lion to own late in these drafts, with people kind of assuming that he's not going to be playing in the playoffs. So Montgomery is a good value. Jameson Williams, I grabbed to get a first round bye. So my running back points are going to come from Saquon Barkley. My receiver points, this is where I might have shot myself in the foot a little bit. Jameson Williams is going to get a bye. If the Chiefs get a bye, then I'm missing Jameson, I'm missing Travis Kelce, I'm missing Xavier Worthy, and I'm missing DeAndre Hopkins. I only have Terry McLaurin and Cortland Sutton. So already, I'm in a hole because I'm missing my flex because I have Jaden Daniels, Saquon Barkley, Terry McLaurin, and Cortland Sutton playing in that first round, and I'm missing a flex. So this is why I need the Chiefs to make it, or need Buffalo to be that number 1 seed, so that the Chiefs are forced to play in that first round of playoffs, in which case I'd have basically all my players in that first round except for Jameson Williams and David Montgomery, with the ability to contribute points to my score. So a little bit of strategy there with trying to figure out who's going to be the number 1 seeds and making sure that you're drafting high upside guys late if you stack those teams in order to carry you through to the next round. So I'll do some more of these drafts as the season goes on, but I wanted to get a quick one out there to share with you guys. Make sure to use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, when you sign up for an Underdog account. It's going to give you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And this is the best game for DFS, or best ball that's around. It's the perfect game. A lot of strategy. Like I said, a lot of strategy goes into it. A lot of weekly payouts and all that kind of stuff. It's the best kind of best ball, basically. So keep that in mind and hit the like button. Give me the 30 likes to put out my next video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You're going to want to subscribe when these shows come out. I don't really have a set schedule, but I also do a lot of best ball content. I do a lot of showdown content, and I do the main slate for DraftKings breakdowns. So check those out, and I'll see you guys with the next one.